Okay, so these three things that I've talked about, so frustration, aggression, the charismatic leadership of Sure Shot, and the radicalization of the Communist Party are three things that I believe cause the radicalization of the FARC. However, there are alternate explanations. One of the biggest alternate explanations is it's the government's fault. Okay, and I put a few sources up there, but that's what everybody says. And I kind of have a problem with that because, like I said before, there have been peaceful social movements that have managed to accomplish their goals by not using violence. Okay, so this has happened. It's rare, but it happens. Okay, the feminist movement. So why? Now, I think the violence is a problem. I'm not saying it's not. But the reason I think there is a problem with the Colombian government as the single explanatory factor for this is that there was no party that was in charge. Okay, throughout, the liberals and the conservatives were switching back and forth. There was no one dictatorship that lasted for 30 years like you had with Franco in Spain. Well, not 30 years, I don't remember how many years. Anyway, he was there forever with the Basques. Okay, there was not one constant party in power. Therefore, there was not someone constantly persecuting them. And they were part of it too. They were in the mix too. They were also calling for proletarian revolution in 1948. Okay, the government finally really starts to deal with them in 1964 with Plan Lazo, really starts to attack them and take care of them. It's a lot of time. And also, they're also taking over parts of Colombia. If you are the government and someone is deciding they're just going to go over and start taking over your land, it's like an attack, right? So this is also a problem. So I think the violence is certainly a problem. And I'm not saying there wasn't any violence because it was extremely bad. And that is somewhat of an explanatory factor. And that's why I've said the FARC is the most difficult. But it's not the single explanatory factor, and there are problems with it. There's also the generic explanation and the FARC's explanation that poverty leads to terrorism. Now, there's some truth to that. I'm not going to say that there's not. But in the general terrorism literature, okay, we find that a lot of times people who join terrorist organizations are middle class, or they're extremely educated people. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're teachers. They're not the poorest of the poor. Okay? There's a lot of differentiation, but poverty is not, there are a lot of different factors, and this is the problem, but it's not just poverty. I mean, poverty, creates frustration. Poverty can cause lots of issues, but I mean, in the whole scheme of things, these people are functioning within rather good jobs in society. I mean, like they're nurses. You look at the backgrounds of these people, they're not poor people. You can't really use that as an explanatory factor all the time. Certainly there was poverty in Colombia. I'm not saying that it's not, but generically, that doesn't work out. And of course, the United States, of course, there's some truth to that. The United States was providing aid to fight communism, and we know about the Cold War. We know that they were giving military weapons. Okay, they were actually coming in there and bombing at times. So certainly the United States, could be a factor, but we have to think of it from the time frame too. The Cold War is the Cold War. Communism is evil to the United States. Whatever you do, we prefer, a military dictator who would torture their people over a communist. We all know that, and we all know that's true. So, I mean, we have to think of it from the times too. But, I mean, certainly, that can be part of this.